Ashley Park is a super popular Broadway star with great versatility. She's got the legit chops to pull off The King and I or Sunday in the Park with George, and an infectious funny side that audiences loved in last season's Grand Horizons and, of course, Mean Girls, which earned her a Tony nomination. Now she's gone global in Emily in Paris, the latest streaming hit on Netflix. Let's see what she's up to. Ashley, so good to see you.
Hi, Paul. Hi.
How's life? It seems like you got a lot going on.
It's good. It's good right now. I'm so happy to be back in New York City. I think I was a little bit scared to come back at first, but I
Mhm.
realized also that's always everyone who doesn't live in New York City is always kind of scared of the city, even before this time period. It's an intimidating city. And so
Yeah.
if you're outside of it, you're like, wait, can I actually survive if I come back? And it's just like home. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy for you because every rising actor needs a Netflix hit, and now you have one.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like it's a necessary thing. I loved Emily in Paris. I completely binged it, went in head first. I love Darren Star's work. And I was really excited to see it, obviously, because I know that I was following when you were filming it last year. How does it feel to have it out there?
It feels good. It's so funny especially with the show dropping globally while everyone's still isolated in pandemic.
Right.
It was wild, and I think we're just so happy that it's made so many people happy. I don't think, I think we knew that people were going to enjoy it, but I don't think we expected or even thought about the kind of reception that it's gotten so far. So I'm happy that it's like the one thing that, like we live in the live performance world, in the Broadway world, where like I've done how many thousands of live performances now. And like, it's been 2 weeks of this show being out, and every person in my life from every walk of my like friends, families, people I haven't talked to in years, every person has watched it or is about
Right.
to. So it's so crazy.
Yeah, that's the magic of Netflix. I mean,
Yeah.
it's huge, huge. You guys all look fantastic. It's beautiful. It's Paris. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
It's kind of like escapist in that way.
totally.
So what was it like filming it? Did you feel kind of like Emily in that you got to sort of like have this escape to Paris and have an adventure?
100%. I mean, the running joke was that I was living it in real time. So that's why it's one of the reasons I love talking about the show, because I'm like, it's genuine, because everything, like not specifically, but everything that she was like feeling and going through, it was my first time ever in Paris. So I was like, this is the
Wow.
running joke was that it was Ashley in Paris. We're like, what's going on in that show right tonight? Like, so, and me coming from the Broadway world too. And I really hadn't had any time off, from 8 shows a week. So I've
Yeah.
always wanted to travel. I've always wanted to study abroad, and I never got to do those things. And so just to go live there for 4 months, and I, told everybody I know, if you ever wanted to come to Paris and have a free Airbnb, come now. And it's just so wild to think about how many people I like hosted and like explored Paris with, because all of those people, including myself, like would not be able to do that now, just months later.
Emily very famously goes with like no knowledge of French. She's just like, whatever, I'll figure it out. What about you?
Well, what's so funny is that I didn't even realize that it was the city that I felt like I was meeting a soulmate when I first got there. I was like, oh, everything that I've loved, like everything from fashion, different foods, like different lifestyle. I was like, this is my exact fit, and so that's exactly like I loved it so much. I took French like growing up, but I didn't remember any of it. The entire crew was in French, like we're all French people, and they were all just the sweetest people. And I mean, I'm sure you can see it. We are so happy that it translates so well on screen, but we all just like adore each other. Like it is just the best hearted like cast and crew. And the only sad part about the show being out now is that we just can't believe that we can't see each other, or that we're not even able to, we just had just the best time, like the whole time.
There's a long history of American media and pop culture showing the French characters. And I know there's been a little bit of a backlash with French people being like, what is going on with this portrayal of us in this show? I don't really agree with it, but what do you think about all that?
What's funny to me is that I actually think, like, one of the parts I love about Mindy is she kind of serves as a foil to kind of hold up a mirror to Emily when Emily's being an insufferable American.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
even if you know there are certain aspects of the French culture that we highlight, like those are all like they tell time, they do dates differently, they have different, they don't cook their meat all the way, all of these different things. But I think I loved watching because I was like, oh, here's a really smart girl, Emily, and you're so endeared to her. Lily is so like effervescent in that role. But you also see you can't just be an American and come, they call out Americans just as much in it. And my character is one who's able to do that. And but also, like, one of my first lines in the show is French people are so mean, and that's the only thing I don't disagree with. Literally, like, Luca Bravo, two of the castmates basically moved in with me by the end of the shoot, and he was my personal Mindy in Paris. Like, it was so funny because that's like all of the rest of them, Kamini, Samuel, they were all like my personal Mindys, because I remember after our first table read, we walked across the Seine, and I was like, wait, this is the Seine? Like, it's a river? And then we like found a cafe, and I was like, we all face out? They do that here, so it's all of those parts of it. And I think they explained, I think the actors are so good because they're not playing caricatures. I think he cast it really well because they're not, even if they're challenging to her at times. Like, I love when her workmates are like, we live to work, or is it work to live? Just their lifestyle is different, and they explain it well, and they make it very human. So I think it was great.
So let's talk about Mindy. I love Mindy. And I love you playing Mindy, because I felt like you had like a really cool, different kind of energy. It wasn't just kind of like the best friend delivering the lines in the way that you would kind of, just like,
I love that.
I loved it. I thought you really sort of captured something really unique. And so congratulations.
Oh,
but thanks. Mindy is hiding. She's hiding in Paris. She has a great backstory. And she gets to sing.
I was like, Paul would get such a kick out of that, like, YouTube clip of the flashback. I didn't tell anybody about that. So all of my friends, when they were watching it, were like, what is happening right now?
Oh my God. I couldn't believe that we got to see. I know you were going to get to sing this show and sing beautifully.
The only episodes that were written when we were cast were the first, I think, 2, maybe 3.
Wow.
After the first table read, I actually got a call from Darren on my way to the camera test in the car. And I'm the kind of person who I'm constantly like, until we record the cast recording, I'm being punked. Even if we've opened the show, I'm like, oh, I'm not that I'm scared I'm going to get fired, but I'm just like, it's too good. Like, I'm in Paris right now. I'm being punked. And so he called me, and he actually asked me if, he said, you know what, as we start now that we've cast you, he had seen Mean Girls twice, and he just knew about, he knew my history, and he said, would you be okay with you if we wrote in singing for your character? And, like, first of all, the fact that he would even ask me that, I was blown away. But I also, because it hadn't been written for the character at first, I remember us talking about how the reason I love musical theater singing is because it's story driven, right? The music is there to help deepen the characters and the relationships in the story. And so I said, as long as it's not just like an Easter egg of like, here's a Broadway girl, like, we're gonna have her sing a Christmas carol or something, like, something random. But if it was really designed to like help her, because also it's Emily's story, at least season 1 is, and I want to support that story. And I think I love how they made the singing kind of her opportunity to be there for Mindy, and like Mindy to be super vulnerable in a way that she hadn't been, which is why so we get the question so much, who do you think, which Sex and the City character do you think Mindy and Emily are? And I think that's such a funny question, because first of all, those are four different women who've all, like, at the pinnacle of their careers, and all know each other very well, versus you're meeting 2 women who are just kind of getting the ground of what they want to do with their lives in a new place, and they're just meeting. So I think that's why you get not just the best friend who's saying whatever kinds of, like, you get a really colorful dynamic with both of them. And it's just so sweet to watch for us, because it's kind of like we're getting to see our own friendship. That's how we were. We are just like that immediately, and we got to know each other through all of that, but it felt like we'd known each other forever. So, but the singing came, I mean, when we did the table read where they said I get up and sing in the park, and I sing Livy and Rose in the Grand Palais, I was like, wait, what? Like, how are we going to pull this off? Also, like, that's too much. That's too much. Like, I'm going to cry. Like, I can't do that. It's so funny watching that scene because I remember talking to Lily right after I got to watch it for the first time because I was like, Lily, you like she's so moved by it because my eyes were closed the whole time, so I couldn't see what anybody else was doing, and it was just so sweet. And she came to watch Grand Horizon. She like flew in for the last weekend just to catch it, and so it was just very meta in that way.
You're now one of the many talented women that have nailed that song. So congratulations. So now I guess basically it's just like praying for a season 2 so you can have another vacation. Is that what that's the goal?
Except I don't know if it'll feel like a vacation. I'm glad we had that feeling last time, but what's so funny, first of all, is that last time we were all just like super anonymous too. Like people were just more annoyed that we were blocking off the bridges and stuff like that.
Right.
It's so funny because we'll have the same locations. So, and but also it'll be more of a COVID protocol. So we don't really know how free feeling it will be. So it'll be interesting. And I didn't have a lot of scenes in like the studio space because we were really on location. All of the Mindy world was in location. But like now that I've moved in with her, we're like, what is that?
Oh, right. Of course.
We read that too, and we were like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm excited that I'm still working at the drag club. You know me; I love drag queens. I love that. I was like, "Yes, this is amazing."
You're also involved in that new Tina Fey show. GIRLS5EVA? Is that what it is?
GIRLS5EVA. We just
GIRLS5EVA. I love the concept of it. Are you like you're like in the girl group or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's about a girl group and
the 90s girl group,
the 90s girl group, and then some young cool rapper like samples their hit. That's the concept, right? It's a great concept. So Tina Fey was just like, hey, Ashley, got your next thing. Like, it was fun doing Mean Girls. Come on over, let's do this one.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that it happened. I mean, again, I moved back to New York being like, should I have what did I just do, really? But I kind of just was like, trust the universe and you're supposed to be here. And I mean, I can't even express how excited and grateful. I think it's also because we had just done this huge press junket for Emily in Paris, right? So I had spent like 80 million hours on Zoom talking about the show and not be with everybody, but doing all this stuff over Zoom. And even then, I just so enjoyed talking about a show and people I loved so much. And I was like, wow, that's just the only kind of stuff I want to do with people that I can genuinely talk about for hours because I have a lot to say about them and I loved working with them. And Tina was always one of those, I can talk about her for hours, and I knew that her and Jeff had been working on this. I knew that they'd been casting a while before. And I think that they had me in mind for Ashley since the beginning of it, but it just worked out, of course, schedule wise and everything. And my dream has always been to be in a 90s girl band. So like Spice Girls is like all of that is just my dream. So I could not believe that. I still can't believe it, really. And like, again, with all I wanted to do, especially after working with Bess Wool and Lee Silverman, and with Lily and with all of the girls and Mean Girls, I was just like, I really wanted to work with amazing female directors and writers and producers. And this is such a, I mean, to have Sarah Bareilles, Renee, Paula Pell, and Busy Phillips as my, I like can't even wrap my head around it because those are like 4 iconic women to me in the comedy world and the music world, so I'm like,
I can't wait. I know that in addition to being in your dream of being in a 90s girl band, you also really wanted to play Millie Dilmont. I want to ask you about Thoroughly Modern Millie because you were all set to do the Encore's production, right when COVID went down. I mean, right? I mean, it sort of was right in the line of fire of that. It was sort of a new vision of Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of that show. And I was really excited to sort of see what it is. Is it still something that might happen or what's the deal?
I think I can say it. I think you're the first to know. We actually did a reading of it this past week.
Oh, awesome.
Over Zoom. And it was, I mean, with Janine and Dick, I think it's because MTI came and Lear, of course, helped the thing. And it was very proud. We didn't even have an entire cast. It was me and then a few other actors who read like multiple characters. But I think it was really because, I mean, Dick and Janine are very, very much reevaluating a lot of the script, and they rewrote a lot of it. So we had to figure, especially, it's so fun to hear Janine talk about it. That show lives in such a rhythmic comedic world. It has to be very like front-footed, and all of that. So it's actually very helpful to do over Zoom, because we all said, nobody look at the screen, nobody try to act. Let's just see how the words go. And the conversations that came from it already before, when we were working on it before the pandemic, I remember doing a meeting with them. And firstly, I was like, obviously this is so cool that it's a colorblind casting, that you guys wanted me to do this. And Lear very much said, oh no, this is color conscious casting. This is about a Korean American girl who comes from Kansas in 1920 to Manhattan. And really that story of everybody's an immigrant in Manhattan. And so there's a lot of cool, like different language stuff and like songs that we know. There's nothing on the nose. Anyways, it was just like a very like academic feeling, amazing musical. And it still has the heart. And when we read it through, we did it for a few days. All of us were like, what was the version before? Like, what was it before? Like, it feels so right now, and which is how it felt at the time too. And I mean, the fact that Janine and Dick are just so available, and I don't mean like time wise, I mean just heart and mind wise, and even a couple revelations that we had about the scene before she sings Jimmy, and the very beginning when she rips the ticket, like what those moments actually are, what is a braver choice later, all these kinds of discussions that will make for a stronger Millie today. We're really excited about it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible. I wanted to ask you, there's been so much talk, obviously, since the murder of George Floyd about diversity on Broadway. And a lot of the conversations have rightfully centered around Black performers and Black talent. But there's also, there's so many groups, involved in the Broadway community. And, there hasn't been that much discussion of the Asian community or the Latin community. I mean, it's sort of part of a bigger conversation. But where's your head about all of that, and about sort of where Broadway can find itself when it's able to come back? And this Millie production kind of goes in line with that too.
Totally. We've all had a lot of time to really reflect, and I had to really evaluate where I was in the conversation, and what part of the conversation I understood, and what part of it I had also lived. And so there was a lot going through my head in terms of also who I was kind of in my own category in this whole conversation of diversity, just with my age as well, and what kinds of work I've done in the industry. And so for me, my hope, first of all, is, what's hard about it is that as every single like archaic system and institution is being reevaluated in the country, everybody else is able to kind of practice those new, or not new, but practice what needs to be changed. And we just can't yet, because literally there is no live theater. So even as much as we want to talk about it, I think there were so many conversations going on, and I realized I needed to not remove myself, but reflect on like how I would be most impactful, and how I could be most genuinely helpful and available in the conversation. And what I realized, I've talked about in a few interviews, as a lot of the Emily in Paris press, people know that I come from the Broadway world and all of this, is realizing, not in a bad way, but that I've found a way to infiltrate the system, but by being complicit in, really, I came to New York and I didn't even realize that my goal was to make everyone believe that I was a white person, was to walk into a room and make them forget that I was Asian, so that they could cast me or possibly consider me for not just the stepsister, but maybe Cinderella, not just this, but maybe that, and it took years, and it takes, but for anybody who's coming into the industry, you have to build trust with the different teams and directors, and with yourself, and understand what you bring to the table. And I think the characters of like Gretchen and Mindy and Jess and Grand Horizons, I realize what it is that makes me the most honest on a stage and in a character. And a lot of it has to do with like someone who really wants to be a good friend, or really just wants everyone to be happy and comfortable, but like has a lot of flaws in the process of it. But it took me a while to find that. And I realized that I don't have to apologize for the place that I'm at because I've been complicit in that. But now I have to take some responsibility too in moving forward, and I think in terms of like the forward motion of the industry and for my involvement in it is I'm just going to be a lot more intentional about what I'm doing. Again, for me, I never wanted to get apart also because they're looking for someone ethnic. You can feel it right away. It's not a good feeling. And so I want to get the part. I don't want to not get apart because I'm ethnic, and I don't want to get apart because I am. That's just not part of the conversation. But what was exciting about Millie is that now that I have the part, let's not ignore it. Let's make it the part of the narrative, right? And I think the only thing I can keep doing is doing the best work I can and keep learning as an artist, so that I think that we thought the glass ceiling was shattered, like when I was coming into the industry, and like I think we just found the door, and now we've got to like pound it down, kind of. So I'm excited though, because I think in all the conversations, especially in the middle of the summer, I had so many friends want to talk or ask things, and when I was ready to, one of the questions was, what does this look like once we get back into rehearsals and stuff? Like, what does allyship look like? And I think it was because I could think of so many examples of stuff that nobody had so many of my Mean Girls castmates who were all white, nobody had any idea of certain things that I went through on a daily basis because I internalized it, because that's my neutral, but what's nice now is that it's not even that somebody can help me with it or that I have to explain it, but they just know it's there. So if they say, hey, this is that thing, then everyone kind of knows, so that I think is a hopeful step. And I think we spent a lot of time this past summer with everyone sharing grievances, as we should. Like, people need to understand. But what I'm hopeful about is like, great. So like, now what do we do moving forward? How do we get audiences to come? How do we get them to want to see the shows that we should be putting on? And how do we make the best art possible, and that kind of thing.
You're doing so much. I'm so into it. So a lot of Ashley Paul.
Yeah, I feel very lucky. Yeah.
Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for joining me. It was so good to see you, and I'll see you soon.